And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here as we continue towards the start of the 2024-2025 NBA season. And just quickly, we are just over a month away from tip-off. Electric scene. I am buzzing, beyond pumped. It cannot come soon enough. In fantastic news, last night the NBL season tipped off. Absolutely delighted to have that back. The content continuing to ramp up on that front as well. But the NBA just around the corner, guys. What I would do on today's episode is kind of shine a bit of a light on some of the best players in the league who are yet to win a ring. Now, I'll go into it a little bit more when we get into it, but just kind of want to shine a light on who I think are the best players without a ring and how likely they are to get a bit of blingage this season. We'll get into that momentarily. Got some quick odds and ends to rattle through in a second. But before we do so, though, a big shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover. Both those two networks continuing to showcase all of my work here at the Daily Dribble, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Very, very appreciative for all their continued hard work and support. Even in the off-season, they've been second to none. So very, very grateful there. Let's get into odds and ends, and a bombshell dropped yesterday with ESPN senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski agreeing to kind of part ways with ESPN. He's joined on as general manager of the men's basketball program at St. Bonaventura. Huge news. Absolutely huge news. Woj has been a constant presence in probably most NBA fans' lives for many, many years now. His coverage of the NBA with ESPN there has been second to none. Only alluded to last week, or it might have been the week prior, about, I can't wait for the day to wake up for a Woj bomb with Luka joining the Lakers. That apparently is not going to be the case now, given that Woj is no more. In a quote, he said, "I'm retiring from a dream job at ESPN and am so incredibly grateful for my time and experiences with the worldwide leader." Now, he's going to leave a huge hole in the NBA media landscape. No doubt Shams is going to be running amok there, Shams Charania of The Athletic. But certainly wish Woj every ounce of success there with the Bonnies. Fantastic to see him go into a basketball role there. General manager, as I said, of their basketball program. But it is a big void. And, I, for one, am certainly disappointed to see this. This news was the first piece I woke up to this morning. But it will be interesting just who steps up to fill that void. But yeah, nevertheless, the end of Woj as an ESPN insider. In other news, the Lakers and 7-foot center Christian Koloko have agreed on a 2-way contract. Now, Koloko is expected to get quite a bit of opportunity in the Lakers front court, despite being on a 2-way contract, especially in the earlier part of the season, given the injury to Christian Wood at the moment. He was the 33rd pick in the 2022 draft, played for the Raptors, where he kind of didn't have a huge impact in his first season. Missed the entirety of last season with a blood clot. But hopefully he can put all that behind him. He's certainly got the physical attributes to be a force within the NBA. He just needs some really good reps, some really good minutes, and playing a really good system, which depends who you ask. Is that the Lakers? Is it not? But hopefully he can put all that behind him and make his mark there in LA. In other news, Isaac Okoro has agreed on a 3-year, $38 million deal to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I put something up during the week on the socials. If you're not following them already, be sure to do so. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. I put up a little poll gauging whether this was a fair price, whether he was underpaid, overpaid. A lot of people thought the 3 years, $38 million was pretty much bang on the money. Okoro, the 5th pick in the 2020 draft, averaged 9.5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists last season, whilst he started to find a little bit of consistency from 3, knocking the 3 ball down at 39%. To be fair, I think at $13 million a season, that is very fair money. Even maybe slightly unders, especially given where the salary cap is headed. I think it's a fantastic bit of business there for the Cavs. As I said, he started to build into the season last year, found that consistency with the 3 ball, I think he's one of the more undervalued pieces within the league. As I said, at a tick under 13 million a season, that's pennies on the dollar there. So very good bit of business from the Cavs. Free agent Landry Shamet has agreed on a one-year deal with the New York Knicks. He has career averages of 8.7 points and a 38% three-point shooter across his career. Has pretty much been here, there, and everywhere throughout his tenure in the league. Most recently with the Wizards last season. For the Knicks side, they're certainly not going to mind having another bloke who can competently shoot the three ball. Just helps add to their depth, which ties in with the news that Marcus Morris has also agreed on a one-year deal with the Knicks. He averaged 19 points per game across 43 games that he played for the Knicks in 2019. He averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds a game last between the 76ers and the Cavs last season, so still more than a competent NBA player. But he's going to bring a bit of toughness to this Knicks squad. And what I love about where they're at the moment is their depth. They've got that top-tier talent. They've got a tremendous starting five, probably really competent 7 players. But then they've probably got 9 to 10 who are like NBA level ready players. And I think that's what's going to potentially separate them this year from the trailing pack. A lot of these other teams in the East and in the league for that matter, they go about 7 or 8 deep, like competent depth, 7 or 8. The Knicks are a 10-man team, and if injuries should befell them throughout the season, they've got players who can step up here. So really like those acquisitions there of Shamet and Morris. In other news, the Dallas Mavericks will be front runners in 2025 to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo if the Milwaukee Bucks fall short in their title pursuit this season. Now, NBA execs were reportedly terrified that Giannis would join Luka there in 2021. But next season, the league is on the cusp of potentially facing one of its deadliest lineups in history. If Giannis should make that move to Dallas, imagine a lineup of Luka, Giannis, Kyrie, Clay, and the rest of the competent players that they have at their disposal. The Gaffords, the PJ Washingtons, the Liveleys. That is just absolutely crazy levels of talent. I think you could essentially just give them the title now. Unreal. If that is to eventuate, as I said, this is reports coming out at the moment. The Dallas Mavericks, front runners, Giannis. Enough said. It is, I think, game over for the rest of the league should that eventuate. I think going into this season, the Mavs are certainly one of the title favourites after their NBA Finals run last season. But you add an MVP level player, 30, 31 years of age by the time that comes around. Scary, scary stuff. To be fair, I just don't think anyone could compete with that. Would love to hear your thoughts, though. Would you like to see Giannis on the Dallas Mavericks? I think, I spoke a couple of weeks ago about reports saying that the Lakers were reportedly after Luka, and that divided a lot of people. Some wanted to see it, myself included. Many others would have been happy not to ever hear that spoken about again. I think this is kind of a similar, touching point. Would you like to see this level of a star-studded team take shape once again? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Hit up those socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Okay, in very exciting news, I alluded to last week, a new sponsor coming on board. Very, very excited. I'm here sipping away at the moment. About to cut to a little ad read, but just want you guys to know that, very excited, hoping to do a lot more of these partnerships, things of the kind, helps boost the overall product. And we'll hopefully have some cool giveaways and things like that coming in the future. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hey guys, Nick here from the Daily Dribble podcast. Super excited to announce a brand new partnership with Kamikaze Energy, helping fuel your next adventure, whether that's stepping on the court, creating your own podcast, or just tackling day-to-day life. Kamikaze is sure to take you to the next level. Providing no less than 2 hours of sustained energy without a crash. It features vitamins B3, B6, and B12, a huge source of electrolytes, whilst having 0 carbs and 0 sugar. You don't need wings when you have Kamikaze Energy. Guys, check the link in the bio or the link on any of my socials to get your first batch. Now, by using my code CamiDribbler, you receive 15% off, and I can assure you, I've got one here ready to go. This is the Slushy Madness, little orange mango number. Hold on, here we go. Here it is. Unbelievable. I'm ready to tackle my next podcast. You'll be ready to tackle your next adventure with Kamikaze Energy, guys. Go check them out. Beautiful, guys. There you have it. Let's push on from odds and ends.
Daily Dribble.
Okay. In a little segment I've dubbed The Best Without the Bling, I saw a post on social media during the week, doing a little bit of scrolling as I happen to do, getting all the latest news and gossip from both the NBA and the NBL. I saw a post that caught my eye. Now, it was the best players in the league without a ring and how likely they were to change that this season. I thought I would kind of have a bit of a look at this, make any changes I thought necessary, and share it with you guys on the show this week. So there were 12 players put forth from this post that I saw. I'm going to, base it off these players, and then I'm going to kind of grade how likely I think they are to win a title. So in no particular order, these were the players put forth, the 12 best players in the league based on their careers. Now, not just based on heading into the season, heading into next season. These are the 12 best players across their career without a ring, as adjudicated by this post I saw. So we had Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and Trae Young. So now here are my rankings for those players based on how likely I think they are to win their first ring. As I said, a lot of you might not agree with those players. You might have had different ones. These are just purely based on that post that I saw. So I'm going to go from 12 to 1, from least likely to most likely. As always, guys, you make the show. So I would love to hear your thoughts, what I got right, what I got wrong, and what you would have changed. Okay, so the least likely, number 12 here I had from that list of players was Trae Young. The Atlanta Hawks, I think they're going to be a competitive team on any given night. But I just don't think they have enough to hang in the East at the moment. The East is continually getting stronger around them. I just think they lack that cutting edge. How good is the number 1 overall pick there? Insecure, Russia. I think he's going to be good without being great. And I don't think he's good enough to give this franchise hope this season. I think Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, Trae Young there, Bogdanovic. It's the makings of a solid team. But I just don't see them making any waves in the East this season. Hence, Trae Young was number 12 for me. Number 11 from the Spurs, I've got Chris Paul. Now, this one was actually kind of fascinating. I actually don't mind their squad. Victor Wembanyama there, Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan there, probably in the starting lineup, with Zach Collins, Keldon Johnson, and Trey Jones off the bench. That's a pretty solid team. And I think the West is still just a little bit too good for them. I could absolutely see them getting into a play-in spot. But I think Paul's quest for a first ring is still going to elude him. And unfortunately, his timeline doesn't really marry up with Wemby's at the moment, which is unfortunate because I think they're going to be really well poised in the next couple of years if Wemby continues to improve, along with Sohan there. But I just don't think this year is it for Chris Paul or the Spurs. Number 10, I had from the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler. Now, I love Jimmy. I love the idea of Heat culture. The boys working hard down at South Beach, putting reps in, grit and grind, dogs there. But I just don't think they're that good, to be fair. With a kind of a core consisting of Jimmy, Hero, Bam, Rozier, I just don't think it's befitting of a title winning team. Despite going up a notch as they do every year in the playoffs, I don't think this year is going to be the case. As I said, the East is continuing to get stronger. And I feel that they're not getting that much worse, but they're just not improving while the other teams around them do so. To be fair, their offense worries me. Some of those players that I mentioned, Jimmy, Hero, Rozier, even Bam for, certain stretches, they just lack consistency. They can be very streaky on the offensive end. And coming up against some of these heavy hitters in the league that are good on both ends of the floor, I think the Heat will get found out. So Jimmy, 10th there, don't see him getting his first ring this season. Number 9 was Donovan Mitchell from the Cavs. Again, I think they're a really solid team. Mitchell, Mobley, Garland, those kind of 3 big heavy hitters are fantastic. But they just lack depth. I still think they're probably a really high-level piece away from being a genuine threat within the East. Mitchell is a star, but I just don't think Cleveland's the place for him to be if he wants to be a championship winner. There's been a lot of rumblings about him potentially being on the move. I think if he wants to win a title, his best bet would be to get out of Cleveland there. So Donovan Mitchell at 9. Number 8, James Harden from the Clippers. It really is quite baffling that Harden doesn't have a title, have a ring to his name. Those fingers are pretty bare. Now, those Rockets teams were so incredibly close to toppling the Warriors, multiple times. If they could have made a 3 in that Game 7 a couple of years ago in the conference finals, this could have been a very different story. Also, probably should have won something with the Nets or the Clippers over the past few seasons, just given how much talent was on, both those rosters. But the Clippers, for me, they're still a potential dark horse. You wouldn't want to write them off just yet. I think there's better teams in the West. Just making the playoffs, I think it's going to be tough. I see them more probably at this stage, without looking at all 15 teams within the West, as more of a play-in level team. But I think they would need both him and Kawhi to play out of their goddamn minds, to be honest, for something to materialize in terms of winning the title. James Harden, number 8 for me. Number 7, DeMar DeRozan and the Kings there. He was never winning anything while staying in Chicago. That is a given. He's in a much better place right now, alongside a team that's really made strides over the past few seasons. I think with De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis alongside him, this team is going to be must-watch on any given night. Offensively, they're just going to be electric. I've envisioned, points per game up around the 120, 125 mark. Just something ludicrous. The question is, can they get enough stops? I don't think so. Hence, that's the only reason that I don't have them higher. Got them 7th. I think if they can tighten things up on the defensive end, I could have moved him up a little bit further. But that end of the floor still worries me. Hence, DeRozan, number 7. Damian Lillard, number 6 there with the Bucks. A lot of talk about how the Bucks... should I say there's not a lot of talk about the Bucks this season. Any talk that, I've kind of heard around the social traps is about how old they are. That being said, I wouldn't discount them. With a healthy and firing Giannis and Dame, they've got a shot. I think things would have to break their way. You would need Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez at their absolute best. But I think they're a shot. Don't count them out just yet. And don't count out Dame winning his first ring. He's not in the top of the pecking order there for me, number 6. But they are an outside chance at the Bucks. And as I said, if things break their way, we're more so looking at the Celtics, Philly, Knicks as the heavy hitters in the East. But they're just kind of flying under the radar a little bit at the moment, the Bucks. So, be very wary of them. Discount them at your own risk. Number 5 is Devin Booker. This team, the Phoenix Suns, should be a lot better than what they are. A starting 5 of Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. That's a championship level starting five. It just hasn't clicked so far for them, though. And it kind of feels as if their window is starting to close a little bit as these other younger teams within the West continue to build and improve. Again, somewhat like the Clippers, I have a little more faith in the Suns, but they're a team that you wouldn't want to count out just yet. Staying healthy, I think, will be the key. If they do, you can certainly, squint your eyes and see a world in which they do win a title and therefore grant Booker his first ring. But if, you could also see a way in which they don't even make the playoffs. Hence, just given the kind of the floor and the ceiling there, I had to put Booker no higher than fifth. Third and fourth here is Paul George and Joel Embiid from the 76ers. Made the big money move to get PG alongside Tyrese Maxey, who is already a borderline superstar, I think. He's a high level star, low level superstar, I think. And to be honest, this season, you could see a world in which he makes that step. You would have to say they're probably alongside the Knicks and the Celtics as the best in the East. The Celtics, in that top tier, followed by the Knicks and Philly, you would say. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they play the regular season and see what seed they finish. With Paul George there to, carry the load, will they look to rest Embiid more so throughout the regular season and keep him healthy to the playoffs? For me, this is probably as good as an opportunity as they're going to have to win a title. And pretty much since the inception of the Daily Dribble podcast a couple of years ago, Philly have been a team that have absolutely run me around and around, kind of chasing my tail. I've put a lot of stock into them year after year, and they've constantly under-delivered. I'm not buying into them too much this year because I know I'll get burned again. But I think Paul George and Joel Embiid are in with a real sniff to win their first ring. Number 2, though, is Russell Westbrook from the Denver Nuggets. Spoke a lot about the Nuggets this offseason and letting KCP go, their reluctance to spend money. I don't mind their recent moves, though. Acquiring Russ and Saric in particular. I still think they're trailing a little bit in the West behind, probably Dallas, the Thunder. I probably wouldn't have them at the top. But when you have a guy who's won 3 of the past 4 MVP awards, you're still in pretty good shape. If you tuned in last week, I spoke about Jamal Murray. Again, if you haven't listened to that one, go watch it on YouTube, tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. I spoke about Murray and how if he can stay on the floor, this feels like a year where he needs to make that step into an all-NBA level player. And if they get Jokic firing, Murray as an all-NBA level guy, I think it goes a long way. It really bodes well for Russ, hopefully winning his first ring. Again, another player who I think is very, very deserving. The records he's broken, the kind of the carry job in OKC that he had to partake in. It's incredible kind of how much disrespect he's gotten over the last couple of years. But he's a player that I would love to see get a ring. So hopefully the Nuggets can help carry him towards that. And number 1 there for the player who I think is, most likely to win a ring this season, who he hasn't already, is Luka Doncic. Now, the Mavs were knocking on the door last season. I think Luka, I've said it for the past couple of years in my, start of season predictions. I think Luka wins the MVP this season. He's alongside a perfect 1B player there in Kyrie Irving. You throw Klay Thompson into the mix, who can help carry that offensive load, guy who's going to make shots. You're looking pretty good on the offensive side of things now. With Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington there to anchor the defensive side, they're a team that's built to win and built to win now. I'm super, super excited for what they can achieve this season. I think this could well be a career-defining season for Luka. As I said, if he hypothetically wins a title, Finals MVP, League MVP, what he's done across the first couple of years of his career is phenomenal. But this could be a year that gets him into that upper echelon and really sets the foundations of him to become one of the best of all time. Luka Doncic there is my guy. Guys, let me know what you thought of this one. As I said, I'm sure there's a lot of contrasting opinions, but I'd love to hear them all. So hit me up on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Very excited to hear all your thoughts on that one. And as I said, we're only 4.5, 5 weeks away from the season tipping off. You can feel it in the air. I am buzzing. Bring it on. Next week, the plan, guys, is I'm going to be looking at fantasy players that you will want on your roster. Now, I know a lot of you guys, whether you play fantasy or not, fantasy NBA, it's exciting to know which players to look out for. So I'm going to cast a bit of a light on some of them. So be sure to tune in for that one. Till next week, though, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go pound down some more Kamikaze energy drinks. Be sure to check them out if you want to kind of elevate your energy levels. Kamikaze is the place to go. It'll be in my link with the code there to get 15% off. Will be in all of my kind of bios on the socials, as well as in the episode notes here. So be sure to check that one out. Nevertheless, till next week, guys, have a great week. I can't wait to speak to you again soon. And just remember, be good or be good at it. See you guys.